Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Philip Latke. I'm with the Edge Green Buildings program at IFC, and I'm delighted to be serving as your MC today. Few notes on this webinar. This is actually the first in a series of webinars where we would be featuring our newly accredited preferred and premier service providers, a program that we have recently launched and that we're very excited about, featuring leading experts from the Edge program across the globe. During each of these sessions, we will focus on a different sector, challenges, opportunities, and what factors drive green building certification in respective markets, starting out with a short interview, followed then by a case study presentation. Quick note on the program, preferred and premier service providers are well-established businesses with proven technical expertise and demonstrated history of successfully completing a number of EDGE certifications in their markets. As we've noted, the program is very new. We have just launched it, so we are very excited to hear from our first panel of service providers today. If you are a service provider and would like to participate in a future event, please reach out to us after the session. Of course, if you're considering becoming a service provider yourself, you can find all the details as well on edgebuildings.com/certify. Please note that each of the webinars will be recorded, and the presentations and the recording will be shared on our YouTube channels and across our social media, and we will also be sending a newsletter to all the attendees. During the webinar, you can ask your questions via the chat functions in the WebEx app, and we will be taking time at the end of the webinar for a quick Q&A. During today's session, we will cover the importance of climate-proofing housing with a special regional focus on Latin America, and we will also hear the strong business case for green and resilient homes in that region. My colleague Michelle Farrell will now provide an overview of some of IFC's free tools and resources to help kickstart your climate journey, and she will also cover IFC's comprehensive climate solutions specifically aimed at the housing sector. Let me now turn over to Michelle from IFC to set the scene for today's webinars and introduce IFC's work. Michelle, can you tell us a bit more about what IFC has done in housing specifically?
First of all, we know that 1.6 billion people live in substandard conditions. And at this point, half of the 2016 buildings are yet to be built. Now, residential buildings now represent 18% of greenhouse gas emissions. And these emissions are added to pressures of climate change and could potentially create 140 million climate refugees. Now, they're lucky to have a roof over their head, can spend up to 25% of their income on utilities and actually the housing itself. Now, there's obviously a huge need for resource efficient and resilient homes. Now, when we look at defining housing adequacy, we work with the housing adequacy dimensions, which talk about the 7 criteria that defines whether you have sufficient housing. And this is obviously a major challenge. Now, in addition, regulatory and policy gaps are an issue in many markets, but I know in Latin America, this is transforming, and we can hear what has been successful in driving that market. Now, third, limited green finance instruments point to the scarcity of tailored finance projects. Now, these types of instruments make sustainable housing and green mortgages very attractive to the market, and they help build and catalyze a green housing demand. Now, lastly, the technical capacity and homebuyer awareness. How do they know if it's something they would want? And even do they have the technical capacity to procure the services they need to design these properties? But in Latin America, you're seeing a lot of certified green housing. And what exactly has been the success story in the countries that we have seen? So, well, access to better green financing allows you to have better financing terms. So many are choosing certifications simply to enable that access to green finance. We're also looking at reducing that incremental cost. As I talked about, some of the preconceptions to housing are that it's extremely expensive to go green. Well, if you plan early and you do it on a large development, that's not necessarily the case. So I think mitigating the preconceptions, understanding the incremental cost, and then looking at those other differentiators, whether it's faster sales through market differentiation, savings on utility bills for owners and renters. And that comes back to that 25% of income that they're spending on this. Now, lower default rates have also been seen in these types of mortgages and construction loans. And then finally, Latin America has been really ahead in setting the types of policies and incentives to create an enabling environment for green finance and green buildings to grow. Now, kind of just looking at the drivers of profitability, what we want to see is how is everyone going to benefit? And I'll send this out after, but really we are able to pull benefits from almost every stakeholder throughout the housing value chain. And it's all about positioning, and it's all about aligning the client's business needs, business targets, corporate strategy with climate solutions that help them both meet their climate targets as well as build their businesses and grow profits. Now, Colombia, which we will hear from our first speaker, and we will talk about what has been happening there when it comes to the transformation. So an investment program that we had done through the MAGIC program with Bancolombia and Davivienda. It was a common building standard. We had incentivized loans to developers. And this program also had education and technical assistance. And I know, Cecilia, if you're on the line, you're also welcome to say a couple things about Colombia. But if you're not ready to do that, that's fine as well. But it was a huge change in the market. We have a large amount of the housing there that is now certified as green, and a huge amount of that is in affordable housing. So truly a success story. Now, in other places like South Africa, we're looking at rental housing can be a challenge. So whether it's a rental housing or housing to sell or different models, social housing, affordable housing is all possible to build green in a profitable way. Now, I want to quickly get to our speakers. So you can see there is the demand for green finance here, and there are a lot of things going on. But I think that what happens often when I'm working with developers in emerging markets is they say, we know there's green finance. We know there's a direction to go, but how do we get there? And I think our speakers today have been very good at helping their clients not only understand what it takes to build green, but look for those benefits that are outside of just the climate savings. Now, with the green building standards, particularly with EDGE, we do align with all the green finance and sustainable finance standards. So it is something that you can certainly use for eligibility, like LEED or BREEAM. Now, I would like to pass the presentation over to Mr. Cesar Ruiz, the CEO of Certi Sustainability. So let me ask Philip to put him on the stage, and I will stop the presentation here. And I will be asking you just some questions to see what you're doing in the market and get a bit more information.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, let me do that. All right, is his presentation up?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen now, Cesar.
Okay, yeah, just do that.
There you go.
Okay, now let me just pull up, sorry, going back and forth with WebEx. Great. Perfect. Okay, so before we get started in the case study, is it possible that we can just maybe put that down for a second and put him on the stage? Is that okay? Because we're going to do the interview first, and then we'll talk about the case study. Perfect. Let me see if I can move to stage. Okay, that should be perfect. Great. All right. Well, Mr. Cesar Ruiz, you have been working with the EDGE program and green building certifications for many, many years. So can I ask you to first introduce your company, introduce the work that you've done, and you've certified over 2 million square meters across 110 projects. I mean, you know what's going on the ground. So please tell us about your company and how you've built your business on this.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. I would like to say hi to all the audience. I'm very happy and very excited to share our experience from Certi in Colombia. Yes, we have been working for more than 16 years right now on this green building initiative. We are mainly a consultant company. We have around 20 people working with us, engineers, that have been working in several and different certification commissioning activities, energy audits, air quality, indoor air quality analysis and evaluation, and many things related to the green building construction. So the CETRI has a very hard commitment with green building, and we have the hard work to train the market and train the constructors and everybody in the issues related to green building. And now we are probably a premier provider from EDGE, from IFC, after having more than 2 million square meters certified. And the thing is, and one of the successes, I think, is once you get into green building, once you get into EDGE and other certifications, and with our work and with our commitment, you don't get back. I just want to add more and more projects. And one of the amazing things that happened in the Colombian markets is how the social housing, right? Affordable social housing had increased, because as you may know, those affordable housing, their price is limited by law. You can get over, so you have to. It's very cost sensitive. So whenever you want to add any strategy or any extra thing to the basic housing, it will add cost. So it's very hard to convince the constructors and the developers. But with the help of the IFC, having this more difference in interest and mortgage, and even for the promoters, lower tax interest from the buyers also as well. This is something that had worked with the banks, as you may know. We have an extra the tax incentives from the government that made that more than today. Today will be something close to 30% of the new affordable housing is going to be EDGE certified. So that's very good news, and very better products at the end for the users. They have better projects, lower energy bills, lower water bills, better air quality, better conditions. So it's a win-win.
Everyone. Hello?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So this brings me to my next question. When you talk about the business case for certification, particularly in the residential space and in these affordable housing categories, the first response that I always get is, this just isn't for our project. You know, it's going to be too expensive. I'm not necessarily interested. What is the conversation that you have with an affordable housing developer that may not be looking at this? And how do you convince them that this could be an option for their company?
Okay, first thing that you just said, Michelle, is you gotta be aligned with their talk. So we gotta speak their language. We cannot be concentrated on energy efficiency and lower carbon emission, this kind of thing. We gotta speak their language. We gotta talk about cost, value, and competitiveness, right? So this is something that's very, very clear, because we still have a lot of offer, so they gotta be very attractive to the market, even if it's not in everybody's mind. The people have a little issue related to green building. They have related to reduction of carbon emissions. So this is something key. I mean, it's important to them. They are aware that they have to offer better products. And also because all the customers and all the audience have a kind of interest on the companies that do promote greener solutions, right? So this is something of the key factors. So the market definitely is a key factor, because if it's offered by the market, right, and the people is attracted to that, they will increase their sales. That is important. So yes, you're right. I mean, they are very skeptical at the beginning because of the cost. But once we do all the analyses and we combine lower interest taxes, right, and we combine the tax incentives by the government, at the end, they can see that they won't be any, they won't have any loss on their profitability, right? At the end, the cost, it balanced. The other thing is having experts in energy, expert in commissioning, and adding another team of consultants to the projects, such as Setri, right? That will help them in avoiding having future problems of the after sales projects, right? Because if we have to audit with the auditors, we are auditors as well of Edge in other projects, not in the one of our consultants, obviously, but in other projects, be part of these audits that would help to review many things, many electrical systems, hydraulic systems that usually, if they are not properly checked and commissioned, right? And it's something that happened more in our country, that developed countries such Europe or the States, right? Where the codes are more strength. But here, having these specialists on board help them to avoid a lot of headaches that are gonna happen in the future, having claim from the customer, this is not properly working, and shortcuts, and I mean, many things. So this add a lot of value because the projects don't have a budget for these future problems, and they never expend it if the projects are Edge certified or other certifications, because of these extra consultants, expert participation. And this add a lot of value because it's the really headache of the constructors and promoters.
Right. No, that's really excellent. And I think this is something that people can really learn from. So you talked about how you're helping them understand the finance. And often when I talk to green building consultants, they'll say, well, we've heard there's finance, but we are not sure what it is. We can maybe point our client in the direction. It sounds like you get a bit more involved. You know the regulations, you know the banks. Can you explain how you help your clients navigate this complex world of green finance and regulations?
Yes, the idea is to work very tight with everybody. I mean, this is a game. We have to play all together, speaking the same languages, right? Understand what is important for the customer, right? For the project and for the market, and what we can offer, such as consultant and be part of the team. So one of the key factors, Michelle and all the audience, is to be part of the team and involved in all the projects. Sustainability and efficiency doesn't have to be taken like a separate part of the project. So the project run and sustainability is like there or there. No. You gotta be involved since the beginning of the project. And this is the key success factor. Because if being part of the project, being on their heads, once they are aware that this is something that have to be included, we don't gonna have this kind of later conversation, when you get the project, it's all developed, and now we have to add things to the project, right? That is the wrong way to go. I mean, we don't have to be an extra cost or extra things or the extra activities for the designers. If it is conceived and is from the beginning, so it's included in the early talks and early design talks and discussions of the projects. Once if it's part of that, it won't be perceived as a cost, right? Because we all know that sustainability is people, planet, profits, definitely, right? So, and unfortunately, but it's the reality, profitability is the more important part of sustainability. But if we make the proper, and we help them to make the proper calculations, they will see that it won't be impacted. So they will feel good, to do good, to the people, right? To the planet, right? To the ambient, right? To the environment, and be in shape from the way of be profitable still and the same way. And what is surprising, and what is something that is very attractive, and when they develop such projects, they can perceive that they are being even a little, not that much, but a little more profitable, more attractive. They sell faster their projects, and all this is capital, I mean, speed of how moving the money, right? So from a finance point of view, that will be more attractive because it's faster, they sell faster, the projects, so they can move to the next one. So this is also important from the financial point of view. So all of these things have to be taken into consideration. But as you said, Michelle, and all the audience, we have to speak their language. That's the key. And we have to speak their language from the beginning, very early in the projects. The sooner the better, like you know, right? The sooner you get into the project, the better it will be.
Mhm. Yeah, you talked about the value add for developers that are making these multifamily properties or large developments. Now, if they're building them to rent, right? Most people can understand where they're going to do on the savings, but building to sell, how can you define the value proposition there? What does it help the developer do? Improve market positioning? Is it tenant satisfaction? Is the demand coming from the market? Or, what is driving it in your mind now?
Okay. It's a little bit of everything that you just said, right? So now we are very clear that what is happening in climate change and all these environmental problems that we have with the weather. We have long session of dry, it doesn't rain, then it rain a lot, then it rain like a lot of flows. The climate is kind of crazy, right? And everybody's aware of that. And on the news or whatever on the media, everything is blamed on climate change. So climate change is responsible for most of that, even if it's cyclical or it's what came to us, but we have to live with that. So the offer is and the market is demanding to that, because if they know that the project will have a little, the future house will have a little or less impact on the climate that having the traditional housing or apartment or whatever, that is something that is attractive. That is one point. So it's a market issue. Not very well defined. They don't know well, and you can still sell a green building that is painted in green, right? So it's a lot of greenwashing still, right? And the people is not aware of everything, definitely. But still, there is something that is important.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, if that policy that we will build together with our local partner Camacol from IFC, right? Having all the banks included with IFC and having the financial for the developers and the little difference in the financial for the loaner, from the guys, from the people that buy the houses, and they can have a little difference from the financial rate. It doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, just a little difference that will make a difference on them from what they have to pay monthly, and that would help, and that can be the key point to take the decision to buy the apartment instead of being renting an old one, right? So they can afford it. So whenever what you pay in rent, it's the same that I will pay from the mortgage. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, right? They will take the decision. So this is something that really make the difference. So the tax and this offer. And
can you just mention what the tax breaks are very quickly in Colombia? What do you benefit from there in the country?
Yes, we have the banks, the green loans, the green financial, right? So for the developers, that here talking in our countries, the interest taxes are very high because of the risk, the high risk, something that you won't pay in Europe or the States or those kinds of developed countries. But in our countries, the interest rates are very high. They can be over 15%, 18%, right, a year. That is a lot of, the cost of money is very expensive in our countries. So whenever you can go from the developers, almost reduce 1% on the interest rate, right? And if you can get 0.5% from the buyer, those are real numbers. Those are real numbers for projects that will pay whatever extra, and you will have more money and you will be more profitable, because at the end, if you have to make a loan to do all the project, and the project takes 2 years, right, to be built, with what you get from that money, with the savings on the financial cost, you can pay the certification, you can pay CETRI services, the consultants, and you will have money that will remain. So it's very attractive, but this is something that I said before, have to be taken into consideration, and they have to do run the proper calculations. And what the market, what it's expecting. The market is expecting like a better project, better house.
So do you help your developers actually connect with the banks or to prepare their proposals for the banks? Are you working to that level of detail with them?
Yes. Fortunately, we have the relationships here in Colombia. We work very close to Camacol, to the Green Building Council as well. And so this is something that definitely has been made from the beginning of CETRI, that we work with them, because our main point of thinking is together we can make the change, and together means everybody, developers, mean the government as well, mean the consultants, mean the producer of materials as well, also have to be included. We have some projects developed in universities, so those guys have to be included, and everybody have to be. And the bank is very important. Banks to be included, even IFC, right? And put everybody together on the table and make the discussions. So the answer is yes. We help them because we know those guys, right? And we have been working also to help banks to develop their proper offer on those opportunities, right? So yes, the idea is, even if CETRI is an engineering, green building consulting, engineering consultant, we have been forced to learn a little bit more about finance. We have been forced to learn a little bit more about taxes, green taxes, to support the customers. They still keep working with the experts, right, on those issues, but we have to help them from the beginning to be connected. So we support them with the connections, the proper connections, and to evaluate the proper calculations, right?
No, that's exactly what I also see in the market, right? And your success compared to some of the ones that I see are really challenged are that you are very proactive, right? You say, finance is not my job, but I'm going to learn it. I'm going to learn where to connect my clients. I'm going to learn what those regulatory policies are. And I'm going to be ready to do the math with my client to say, if you go for zero carbon, you're able to actually maybe achieve a certain level of modernization, align that with your targets for your corporate targets and your growth targets. Another thing is working with apartment buildings. As you modernize them, you can get better tenants. We had a zero carbon property that went from a grade B to a grade A, and being able to get embassy tenants. And so there's a lot of benefits just outside of the tax incentives and the finance, but really this makes it a totally winning business case. So now I want to talk about your team. Where did you start? How big is your team now? And where do you really see yourself going in the next few years with CETRI? Where is the market going?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, as I said before, we started 16 years ago with a couple of two engineers, myself and another person, another engineer. We actually, by the time she was studying at Georgia Tech, a PhD in green building and civil engineer at the beginning. And we start this long way talking to the customers. We have the first projects demand for LEED certification at the beginning. As you may know, LEED was very strong, special on the offices market. So we had the first customers asking for green building, and after that we start working, I mean, as I said before, as a team, and we all the participants together and the government, and it has been a long way. Before getting into CETRI, I worked in Brazil from 5 years. So I got the chance to meet the Green Building Council in Brazil. Then we founded here in Colombia the Green Building Council at the same time. We started working with Camacol a few years later. So it had been a marathonic work, working with universities, with students, promoting investigation projects on green buildings, adopting those standards to here, because at the beginning, the first standards that were applied in Colombia were very, we were talking about LEED, what was very US based and related to the US standards and these kind of things. So we did all this adaptation at the beginning. Then came Edge, that is more open for, it was more open for the world, but LEED also has evaluated to more open to the world. So it has been just such a long journey, right? Right now we are almost 20 consultants, engineers. We have been training Edge. We are all Edge experts. We have Edge auditors as well. We have LEED certified AP. Myself, I'm a LEED AP certified. I'm a LEED fellow as well. There are very few in the world, around 200 or something. And most of our guys also are trained and certified in ASHRAE. So, I mean, part of the success is have all these guys, all these consultants in a constant evolution and studying and certifying and be able to get ready whatever new opportunity comes in, right? And I have the update in every new certification. Another thing that we did well is like we did work very close to material producers, right? Concrete producers, windows, glass, material, paints. So we set up all these committees of sustainability inside Camacol, inside the Green Building Council in Colombia, and having all this discussion all together at the same time. So I think this is part of the success. And we have been called from different countries. We can attend every country in Latin America. Brazil and Argentina is quite far from here, and they have very good consultants as well, if I can say so. So but we can work. We work Peru, Ecuador, the Caribbean. We have very nice projects in the Caribbean, Bahamas, Nassau. We have a few projects in the South Florida, in the States. Mexico as well. We have projects in Honduras, Guatemala, and now as we all learn with the pandemic, that virtuality is something that can be used, so we can attend the meetings by WebEx, by Zoom, whatever, and that minimize the cost of traveling, which was a hurdle to attend other geographies, right? So now it's very easy to travel around the whole Latin America. Very, very easy. So that's why. And we have grown all this prestige, and we have these big numbers. I don't know if there's another premier company, that Edge Premier, that have such amount of more than 2 million square meters certified. I don't know. I'm not sure about it. We are the biggest one, but we have a lot of projects. And we have very emblematic project. We have the first airport LEED Zero certified in the world, which is something that it's wow. We're talking about the world, So
right.
It's a 6-year continuous work to get to there. So this kind of things is very attractive to such important projects.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm really seeing from this is that you have been very close and very involved with all the stakeholders. You've learned as much as you could. You've really gotten involved in all the processes and been part of the market drivers in the country. And that's obviously been a success. So speaking of your projects, I would love to see you present one of the projects that you've worked on, a residential project. So please, I'll pass it over to you to share one of your case studies with us.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, I would like to share a couple of projects. I just will ask Philip how much time I do have, because I don't want to take the time for the other presenters and from you, Michelle. So
No, you're okay. You can go like
15 minutes, that's okay?
10 minutes is good. And then we'll
Okay.
go.
Okay, let's go for that. Let's go for that. Yes. I love to respect others' time. So let me just share. You know, when we were talking, I just remind that one of the strongest or more difficult part of the project has to be aligned with the architects, because architects, they sometimes we have a hard time with them, because we are working on a lot of concepts like the window to wall radio design. So they want more shiny and windows buildings. So we have to make a proper balance on on the window to wall rate. But at the end, having a good and nice discussions, we can grow up on knowledge and have beautiful projects and very low carbon consumption projects, and EDGE certified and respected from the planet, very sustainable projects. Right. So as you may say or notice already, but the thing is passion. I mean, the secret of everything is passion. If you have passion for whatever you do in life, that's the key success factor. So sustainability is our passion. Now we're moving a little bit more to regenerative construction. That is something is the next step on sustainability, but that will be part of another discussion. So our commitment is rooted in purpose. So we think that sustainability is not just a technical choice, it's more an ethical responsibility and a strategic opportunity. So that's what drives us to this. I just want to switch very quick to the projects. I don't know. It's sad that we don't have too much time, right, to discuss. But I would like just to see how much people don't like these kind of solutions. Even being social housing, that in Colombia is called VIS, it's in the Caribbean, so it's a lot of. I mean, the weather is it's very nice. It's hot and warm and humid all year long, right? So that will take you to think about a lot of air conditioning demand of this kind of energy consumption, high energy consumption, expensive. But those projects, and especially this one, Girasoles, which was led with Constructora Bolívar, which is one of the largest residential developers in Colombia and currently EDGE champions with our support. The project was made to attend those affordable demands, right, for low and middle income families in the Caribbean region. And with all those strategies and helping with IFC and the EDGE certification, we get to those results. 23% in energy savings, 36% of water savings, and 61% less embodied energy in materials, carbon embodied energy in materials. Something that is very, very interesting in this project is like they have our bioclimatic design. I don't know if you are familiar with the word, but the idea is all those constructions has been designed with natural ventilation. So they make all the designs, and I won't get into technical designs right now, but the idea is when opening the windows, the natural flow will move inside the apartment, and will first have renew the air, so good indoor quality first. All those colors and those materials also have the proper solar reflex index to reflect the heat from the sun. So getting a lower thermal charge from the sun radiation, and the air will help to remove the heat that will not concentrate and get up like as a chimney phenomenon, right? And get up and get out the building. So the heat will be taken by the natural ventilation promoted by the difference in temperatures on the top, on the bottom, right? So air being more warmer air will be lighted, so it will be moving to the top and force a natural ventilation phenomenon to get over. From the nights, they will have to make some air conditioning use, but the whole building won't have all this energy concentrated. All right. This project was financed on commercial banks, right? Who have an agreement with IFC, right? And the big offer of the project was to offer savings to the customers on the utility costs, right? Better quality of life for residents, right? Because they will have better temperatures inside, better air quality. So these definitely have had a lot of advantages from this project. And there's a lot of more theories involved. When you rest better, when you can sleep better, when you have better air quality, you can be more productive, you can rest well. So the day after, you will be in very good shape, very productive. You won't get healed, you won't get ill, right? So this is very important as well. Just a quick numbers, right? It's 760 units certified under EDGE, right? Like I was telling Michelle before, and all you guys, all the audience, faster sales due to the combination of support from the government with the social housing support for them, very attractive mortgage rates from the buyers, and the green value proposition. This mix was the success of the project. So definitely, we perceive, like I said before, that is a stronger green building demand from the market. What are the important key takeaways from this project? We demonstrate with this project, with Constructora Bolivar, that developers can build sustainable, affordable projects and remain competitive. That is important. That is a key success factor. What is the key of that? Get involved in the project very early, like I said before. So make sustainability and efficiency part of the initial task. Be part of the project. Be considered that is something that must, and being part of the project, it doesn't impact at all. Thank you, Jenny, for your question. I think I will have the Q&A session at the end of my presentation.
Could you just add one thing here? So you had mentioned on the slide, commercial banks are open to supporting these initiatives with green mortgages. So could you just explain a bit more about how maybe you might approach a commercial bank in that case?
Yes. The idea is they offer those green mortgages, and those green mortgages from the local banks is agreement that they made with the IFC, right? Because IFC get the funds from the bank, from the international bank, from the.
Yes, it's the MAGIC program. I'll put it in the chat for people. Yes, it's particularly big in Latin America and Africa. And all.
Exactly. So the thing is, the banks does special rates, and they just pass through the final end users, developers and buyers, right? And this initiative has been embraced from the main principal banks in Colombia that have a lot of experience, more than, 60, 70 years financial all the housing in Colombia. So they are banks that the people does trust a lot, does understand, and is the first option when making any finance. So we having this offer from the banks are also very aligned with the ODS, with the ESG initiatives. They also have to report what they are doing on green initiatives to get some other incentives from the government, from their taxes, right? So it's a mix of everything and this related that get us a better planet, better solutions from the people, and better solution from the banks, and then can still remain competitive, right? That doesn't make any difference. I have very good question that I just pop up on the window. Yes, we do train the developers, we do train the sales teams from the constructors on their talks, on the proper talks, what they have to say to the customers when they approach to the projects. I want to start, and they show their interest on buying an apartment, a green apartment, EDGE certified apartment, for instance. And yes, we do the training to them. Okay, just being on the key takeaways, commercial bank open to support those initiatives with the green mortgages. A trusted EDGE Premier provider such as Century ensures this technical compliance and the certification success. So this has not been ever an issue, thanks God. With the proper consultants, we don't have. I mean, at the end with the audits and everything, we did pass through very well on those projects. And the extra bonus that I told you before, having those experts, our consultants on the projects, avoid some future problems that sometimes appears on the project because they don't have those experts' eyes doing the audit at the end of the project. These commissioning activities, right? This is another solution, just to be very quick, respectful for the time. It's in Bogota, but this is interesting because those houses are more for rent, right? So it's a part of a investment fund that is called Visum Capital. So these guys those have a lot of properties, a lot of investment in real estate, and part of offices. They have logistic parks as well. They have distribution warehouses. They have offices and spaces, and those have this kind of new solution. This is like a mix-up apartments, very small apartments, but the idea is to have on the building all the services that you are not having in your apartment. So the idea is to extend your social life, like to these terraces, right? You don't have a terrace at your apartment, but you do have a common area terrace. So you can just go down to the terrace and have a good and fun time outside, like if it was in your apartment. And you can meet people, this kind of new solution. You have to work as well. You can have your space, proper space, and these co-working areas that you can work, to have meetings, whatever you want to do, or if you want to cook with your friends, you have like common cooking kitchens that you can bring out your people. It's not gonna be inside your house. It's gonna be like a shared space, commuted, and this kind of solution is very attractive because even if the spaces are very small that you rent, you have a lot of common areas. And the idea is this building, and the other challenge we had with this one is that one was already constructed, because this fund Visum Capital, the investment fund that have a lot of this, did constructed before. So the idea was to take the building, do the assessment, right, and turn it into EDGE. So as you see, the savings are not that high. We are only 25% on energy savings, but you have to take into consideration that this building was already made, that was already constructed. So it was to us a challenge to make the proper changes, right? Proper adjustment and some retrofits, a small retrofit, nothing very invasive, right? Small retrofits to get very tight and get the building certified. And this was very attractive for the new generation, the new people, the younger people that do love these kind of solutions, right? So it's very attractive. It's also green. You have the certification that add a lot of attractiveness to this kind of rental, right? You can run the model Airbnb or whatever, very attractive for tourists and for this. So very important. The other important point with this, those guys were very interested on having a green assessment for all the fund, for all the properties, the portfolio. So we are working with them right now in a lot of projects, the different assessed that they have, and we are making the green analysis, the environmental and sustainability diagnostic. So we run with them, whenever they are able to certify, we incentive them to, hey, let's go for certification. That would make a big difference if it's already constructed. So that's why I bring up this kind of project. As you see, it's very small, everything together, kitchen, social area, and the bed is on this side, right? So it's very small, but you have all this common area that you can share and you can commute, right, with the rest of the people, the community. So it's also very sustainable from the social point of view, and that's a big difference. It's very close to the University of Los Andes, which is a very important university here in Colombia. So a lot of students love to rent and stay there, this kind of solution. Important takeaways, just to end. It has been a very strong partnership with Edge and IFC, with the customer, the investment fund, and with IFC. So IFC also did finance all the improvements and all the retrofits that had to be made to the project to turn up into an Edge project certified. So this is something that can also be worked with IFC, right? So it is not only for new buildings. You can work on already constructed buildings. Okay, I think I took all the time. I'm sorry for that. This is more, you will get the presentation anyway, but this is more of something that I already told, of how it works, a lot of the project we have, the certifications, the tons of CO2 saved. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. Excellent presentation. Really a lot of material, lots of detail in there. Michelle, do you want to move on to the second panelist? I'm going to shift gears here.
So now I'm going to ask our second panelist to come on the stage. Let me move you there. So move to stage, and I will move you. Move from stage. Okay, perfect. So similar to the other interview that we had previously, we're going to follow a similar format for this discussion. And now I would like to introduce you to Miss Erica Musso. She is a director and partner at Leaf Global, which was originally just based in Peru, if I'm correct, but now has grown to many offices across Latin America. And I think I even saw China on there. So that's very impressive that you've been working there. So, and again, I'm not going to be able to state if anyone has the most certifications, because I know it's a very tight one, right, between all of these developers. But what we will do at our 10-year anniversary event, we will be awarding all of our service providers who have done all of these experience projects. But being one of those experienced Edge consultancy firms, your team at Leaf Global has successfully completed over 180 green building certifications. And as well as yourself as an individual, you've consulted on 100 certifications. Now, what's really driving the demand in your region? And also introduce your company a little bit if I missed anything as well. Feel free.
Sure, don't worry. Thank you, Michelle, for the opportunity to be here. Hi, everyone. Thank you as well, Philippe and Cesar, for hearing you We're very honored to be here. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am actually I am director in LEAP and also a partner, and we have approximately like 20 people working in LEAP with 8 years of experience, if I'm not wrong, walking into 9 soon. And my work expands not only in sustainability, but as well in architectural design, locally and international. So with the years going by, I have been able to understand a little bit more about the different regions, what they need, what they want, and also how the climate impacts them differently according to their locations. So effectively, we have been participating in 180 projects that have been certified, with a lot more that are ongoing. They're in mid-process. I have been participating directly with the achievement of 100 of them. And I think one of the most important ones, we are very amazed in participating in it, is Real Plaza Puruchuco. This is a supermarket, a very important one. I think it's the largest EDGE certified, and it's placed here in Peru. So we're very, as I was saying, very amazed to have participated in this project. I think it's massive, and it was a couple of years ago when this was recent or very new to the world.
Great. Now, you're in Peru, so you're in a different area, and how do you explain the business case for green certification? And maybe give an example from a couple different countries. I know Peru has some great incentives there on the ground for residential, but maybe give just a couple another region as well, where you've been able to really drive a very strong business case for certification.
Sure. Maybe I can tell you first about Peru. I think things have been managed a little bit different. It's very similar region to region, but in Peru it's a little bit different. IFC and the local municipalities have been working together to intensify the achievement of EDGE certification, and they have released some ordinances. These are like local or regional ordinances that impulse the achievement of EDGE certification and to go green, to understand and respect sustainability. So what these ordinances push to is to get better financial access, less tax incentives, and also to have a lot of more square meters that are like green or are a better construction, a better habitable space. I'm sorry, Michelle, can you hear me there?
Yes, now I got it. Yep, you're back.
Okay, thank you for that. I think you lost me for a couple of minutes, but let me know where you heard me
It
last.
was just maybe 20 seconds. So just start the last, what you said.
Excellent. So what I was mentioning is that this very important and strong work that IFC has been doing with the government and with the ordinances and with all these municipalities, I think this has intensified the goal to achieve EDGE here in Peru, or not only in Lima, but I think also in all the provinces and the districts that compose Peru. That I think is the most important case of Peru. Also, as well, with all these ordinances, the green financials, banks have started being aware of this situation. So they have designed better financial products for the housing. And in Mexico, the situation is very, very similar. I think most of the region, they each have, the banks have prepared special products according to what the clients need or the developers are looking for, and their goal in looks to what the world is going towards as well. So it's very nice to see how all Latin America is working really hard on this and how they are keeping the same goal, but as well doing it according to what they need, they in the place, in the location, what they are needing.
Now, one of the questions I've always asked is it what financial or operational benefits do the developers really, prefer? And then on the end of the home buyers in these markets, are you seeing a demand on that side? Or is it mainly the developers who are offering this and pairing it with a preferential mortgage? Is it kind of buyer demand driven or is it finance demand driven for the developers?
I think it's a little bit of both. As Cesar was mentioning at the beginning, the developers were not aware how Edge would impact their budgets and their projects as well, because they understood that this was a certification, they had to comply with different demands, and they were not so certain of how much this would impact their budget, and if the final product, the housing, would be affordable for what the market was looking for. But then afterwards, well, we have been introducing to each diverse developer with diverse construction objects, for example, low rise, high rise, mid rise, and for different assets. They have all been like aware and happily, how do you say, they are like a happy outcome, I think, to understand that Edge is very friendly and what it is asking for is to make a very reasonable effort, and that the products in the local markets or maybe neighboring markets do offer what they need to make their project certificable. Oh, we cannot hear you, Michelle.
Similar to the question I asked Cesar, so can you give an example of, something around how was a client able to attract an ESG focused investor or a new opportunity by certifying green? Have you worked with anyone that has really been able to unlock finance that they weren't able to get before through choosing certification?
Yes. Depending on the region where our clients is located and the financial product that the banking is able to offer, they have different levels of certification that they need to achieve. For example, in Mexico, the financial object was to achieve Edge Advanced. This is a project that I will show you afterwards. In Peru, depending as well on the financial object, you have these different levels. And when finally the developer understands the effort that he needs to make to achieve this level, he sometimes is overwhelmed and very happy, maybe not to achieve only the next level, but the next one after that. So some of our clients have, after analyzing the project, understanding the impact that they would have over the project budget, they asked about achieving the next level, maybe if it was feasible for them. Why? Because the users are not asking nicely as like a request. I would want to live in a certified home. This is more like a demand. They are approaching the developers and they are not coming maybe to see if it's possible. They require this, like this must go, and if not, I am thinking of going to another developer and asking for that product there. So developers are now seeing the possibility not only to make this first step of effort, they are going for the long run and they want to make a bigger effort to being able to offer a better product, a more sustainable project.
You know, one of the things that happens in Latin America, which also kind of happens in Asia Pacific and South Asia as well, is competitiveness, right? And you said that drive to once they get one level, they want to go to the next one. And how has that you know, development or kind of normalization of certification in the Latin American market pushed people to really compete or raise their level of ambition on projects?
Oh, yes, it's very present. At the beginning, the developers were not so aware, but then the sales team started to receive comments from the possible buyers and telling them, oh, but you see, maybe the neighboring project does offer the other stage, and I'm willing to pay a little bit more because in many years' time, this is like an investment. They will pay less for their services, for the electricity, for the water, even the comfortness inside of these spaces. You know, we need to, or we do humans, we pass like 90% of our time indoors. This would be housing, offices, shopping malls, maybe the gyms, but 90% of the time we are always indoors. So people are demanding for a comfortable place, and Edge offers that because it not only analyzes the equipment or the systems that will be placed in the housing, but also the construction of the whole housing, the envelope, how the envelope protects the users. So if you have a better designed envelope, you have less consumption maybe of some system that will protect you from the extreme climate that you have outside. So if you have a better design, if you have very high efficient systems, then it is easy for you to achieve higher levels. And it is important, as Cesar was mentioning, to start at the very beginning when the project is being designed, is being like the first traces of the project.
No, that's really interesting. So it's almost become like a required amenity. Like, you know, I need to check this off like a nice lobby or a pool. And that's really showing how really quickly the Latin American market has transformed, because in many developed markets, we don't even have that awareness. Now, let's dive into one of the projects from your company. I'm really excited to see, you know, one example of where you worked on residences and, you know, the type of work that your company can do. And I did see one question earlier in the chat about existing buildings. So for all of these consultants that we have on here, Edge is existing and new buildings. So a lot of them would be retrofits as well. So all of those would work.
Oh, yes. Maybe I can mention a little bit about that, Michelle, because not only we have clients or developers contacting us for new projects, many of them have come asking about existing projects, and they have been very, very worried that this will impact the budget, or maybe it is not achievable. The certification is not achievable, but it is very, very easy. You can scan the project, understand its characteristics, where it's located, the climate that impacts the building, and just maybe make or identify the correct changes that would achieve the certification. So I could say it's a very friendly certification, even for existing buildings.
Okay, great. I'll pass it over to you then for the presentation.
Perfect. Let me share you my screen. Okay, so please let me know if you can see it correctly.
Yes, we can see you. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Philip. Perfect. So maybe a quick introduction. You know me already. I'm Erika Musso. As I was mentioning, I am a partner and director in Leaf Global. So who are we in Leaf? As I was mentioning before, we are one of the leading sustainability consultant firms worldwide. We not only attend the region of Latin America, now we have also projects in China. And the co-founders here, as you can see, are two brothers, Ana Lucia Granda and Cesar Granda. Ana Lucia is more the expert in sustainability. She's also EDGE faculty and is a very important member for LEAF. We have a lot of achievement thanks to Ana Lucia's own work in all these years, and I think we have reached to so many ears and so many knowledge thanks to her. Cesar Granda is a very important participant as well. He's more dedicated to administration and the finance and the growth of the company. So indeed, we're very keen to understand all of our clients, what they are needing, what they want, where they are located, and for the projects not to impact their budgets. This is like one of the most important things for us. We are members of USGBC, as well Green Building Council. This is GBCPE or GBCPE. Sustainability for Mexico, known as SUME. Also Green Building Council in Brazil. And soon we have some other new participations that will come. One of the most important achievements that we have had recently is become a premier service provider. Very, very proud to be recognized as such. I think this pushes a little bit more our strength into sustainability and the work what we do. Some of the places where we have been working on, Peru, as I was mentioning, Mexico, also a very important country, Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, Argentina, and out of the region of Latin America, now China. And we have a little bit of team in all of these locations, also USA. Some of the certifications we work with, not only EDGE, additionally is LEED, WELL, SITES, Fitwel, BREEAM, some local ones as Bono Mi Vivienda Sostenible. This is a benefit here in Peru, also Casa Colombia and in other regions, IS as well. Some of the projects that we have been working on, high-rise building, low-rise buildings, Real Plaza Puruchuco, as I was mentioning before. We have projects in other kind of real estates, like apartment hotels, also the shopping mall, industrial, education, and health as well. So the benefits and effectiveness of the certification, as we were mentioning before, I'm not going to consume much of your time. The affordability, the technical sustainability, the public incentives, what I was mentioning, especially the case here in Peru, the intensive work with the local ordinances, and it is a measurable impact, all the savings that you can achieve thanks to the certification. Here, I will leave you some strategic benefits, marketable, and for the sales team. As I was mentioning, I'm not going to consume much of your time, but you have a lot of added value to the commercial appeal. Also, there is a lot of commitment to the sustainability development. This can be mentioning when offering the products, greater thermal comfort and quality of life, when EDGE certification is achieved in a housing, and a brand differentiation as well. So let me tell you about the project. This project is located in Mexico. We have selected it because it was a lot of understanding of the climate. This is a project located in an extreme climate. It's in the southeast of Mexico, in the state of Quintana Roo. The project is called La Selva. It's a residential unit, and it has two types of models of housing, a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom. This project is located very close to Playa del Carmen. who know Mexico, you will know probably that the climate here is extremely hot. There is a lot of impact from the sun, the humidity as well, and people have to fight with this every single day. So what Cadu, the developer, Cadu Inmobiliaria, was needing to achieve was to at least achieve 40% of the energy savings to obtain Edge Advanced. And when he understood that this was feasible, he said, okay, let's try to achieve more and more, because it was like an internal desire to have a very sustainable project as part of their offerings. So as I was mentioning, it has two housing units, two types, the 3-bedroom and 2 bedrooms. They are located, as you can see, in different orientations. So when we started analyzing the project, it was not only to understand the composition of the mid-rise building, but also to understand how the sun impacted all of the windows in these different locations. These small mid-rise have 2 apartments per floor, and it has 47 4-story buildings. So one of the buildings achieved 89% in energy savings and 23% in material savings. And the other type of housing, or the other apartment, achieved 92% in energy savings and 30% in material savings. Most of this is because of the orientation of the building. The sun impacted differently in each of these housing, so the resulting was a little bit different. Both of them had a 49% savings inward. So as I was mentioning at the beginning, we had to understand the housing, the location, how the project was assembled in the lot. So we had to calculate the window to wall ratio per building, and then understand the impact of each of these different orientations to try to explain to the client which were the measures that he had to take into account to be able to achieve not only Edge Advanced, but all these savings of additional energy that he wants. So when we had controlled the window to wall ratio, then we needed to understand as well the systems to be able to achieve more energy savings, understand which were the systems that he wanted to incorporate in the project, and the amount of them, because as you know, air conditioning or the cooling systems are one of the most impactable in energy savings. So to understand the number of them that were going to be placed in the housing, we have to remember that the climate in the outdoors was very aggressive. So people wanted to keep very cool. We identified the best system for the housing and to have a very efficient system that will not demand so much maintenance or so much energy consumption. The second was the domestic hot water. The domestic hot water runs by gas, so this reduced as well a little bit the consumption of the energy, and we were very aware of the efficiency of the system. Some of the faucets of the project, all of them with very low consumption. We valued if it was, we controlled the brands that we had locally and also in the neighboring markets, and identified which of them were the most, the proper ones for the project. And finally, we identified the ones that consumed less and permitted the energy savings that the project achieved. Why is this? Because these faucets not only consume cold water, they also consume hot water. So there is heating that is related to this. As maybe some of you do not know, in Edge certification, many of the measures are related one to the other, and you have a lot of calculations that the platform controls. and it identifies the faucets that are being placed in the project, and also it understands if there is hot water related to them. So it is a very important measure to understand and to control, not only in water consumption, but in energy consumption as well. And one of the most important measures for this project in particular, you must understand that each project is different. As I was mentioning, if it has many floors, if it is a very large in square meters project, if it has a very hot or very cold climate that impacts directly into the housing. So the composition of the project is very different one to the other, and to the results in the edge analysis. So the roofing construction for this project was very, very important. It's one of the surfaces that is more impacted by the weather. The sun impacts the surface very strongly in this climate. And we analyzed with the client the best composition, layer by layer, thickness by thickness, so we could mitigate the trespassing of the heat from the outside to the inside, converting it into a very cool and very comfortable room to be living in. So applying this and applying the perfect materials, the amount of thermal materials and their proper thicknesses, we also mitigated the use of the cooling system. If this would turn into less hours of air conditioning that the housing would need, and also the savings at the end of the month in electricity consumption. So the roofing was one of the very important surfaces to be aware, and the construction and the composition of it had to be ideal. Also, not only the roofing, the walls, the exterior walls are also very much impacted by the exterior heat. So a proper solution had to be recommended. Not to elevate the costs of the project, because as I mentioned, firstly, that is one of our main goals, not to impact the budget of the project. We looked for solutions that would reduce this trespassing of the heat, and propose some solution in the internal holes of the hollow concrete block, thermal material that would permit not to elevate the costs, and to control this heat trespassing, and to work as well as the thermal control in the roofing construction. This material is a Thermosil, and it was very affordable for the developer to apply it in all the exterior walls.
So can I just ask you to expand there? You're working with the developer to choose the most efficient and most cost-efficient materials, right? So you're really refining them to keep the costs low?
Yep. Yes, this is very important to us, because sometimes the developer, as he's very aware of what is happening in the local market, maybe he's not aware of what is happening in the neighboring markets, or in the whole Latin American region, or maybe globally. And he's not aware of very feasible solutions, costly, accessible materials that will benefit their projects. So yes, in LEAF, we are always keen to help our client to understand what their final object is, what their budget is, and to find solutions for them. So the project is a very interesting and how do you say, it's a very attractive product for the market. So lastly, considering the shell of the project, one of the very important materials is the glazing. the glazing, you have a lot of trespassing of the heat. And as I was mentioning, Quintana Roo is very impacted by the heat. So we looked for the most beneficial glazing for the project, always taking into account the budget. And as you can see, the main considerations in each, the SHGC, the VT, and the U factor. So the U factor, the most impacting one. This is the transmittance of the heat. We had to look for a glazing that would align with this budget and also to mitigate this trespassing. And we found an ideal solution for the client. And I think this closed the composition of the whole project and made it feasible to achieve Edge Advanced and more. So as I was mentioning, the benefits always in Edge, we are not only taking into consideration the benefits for the developer to gain access to preferential green financing, reducing in taxes, also for the users to enjoy an efficient, a very sustainable housing, to reduce monthly costings, and also the planet to avoid mitigations of CO2 emissions and incorporate passive design with effective technologies. I think La Selva is it's an ideal project, a very good example of what you can achieve with Edge.
Excellent. Thank you, Erica. I think with that, we can probably jump into some of the questions. I think there's a couple of ones that are particularly interesting for you. So if we want to talk about certification on a smaller scale, for example, single family homes, how would you say challenges are different? What are the different things to consider on the process? And also maybe we can touch on the cost effectiveness. You've already talked about that in general for smaller projects for affordable housing. Where does the factor of cost versus efficiency come in?
Sure. I think what is first is to take into account where the housing is located, the climate that impacts this house. If you are in an aggressive cold weather, then maybe what you need to do is to heat up the housing, and this would demand a lot of costs in heating for the interiors. If you are in an aggressive hot weather, then what you need to do is protect yourself, and maybe the cost of cooling will be the item to take into account. So firstly is to understand the weather that impacts. Also, where is the demand in the budget? If it's maybe the water consumption, maybe the electricity because of this climate that impacts you. Also to understand the selection of the materials. If you have nearby maybe or access to certain kinds of bricks, if you have a lot of access to certain kind of wooden construction materials, then try also to look for solutions with the materials that you have in the neighborings, in the immediate neighbors. I think that would be the most important, and also to understand what you are trying to achieve. If you need to achieve certain comfortness, or you are doing this housing for a certain purpose, to try to incorporate this into also your design or the edge analysis that is going on.
Thank you. Very interesting. I think another point, looking at some of the questions and overall discussion that keeps coming up, is also the role of governments. So, in your experience in dealing with a variety of governments across the region, what is the overall experience? Give us a couple of examples, maybe non-committal. Is there government examples where they actively promote green building certification on also municipal level versus state level versus federal level? Different government players come in, and then also what is the role of EDGE experts and green building professionals? This kind of ecosystem in shaping government regulation and in influencing governments to put in green housing codes and to incentivize green buildings.
Sure. At the beginning, EDGE, as maybe, I don't know if many of you know, I don't want to get my numbers wrong, so I will have them here. EDGE does not have so many years. I think EDGE comes into operation in 2014. So many of the local governments in Latin America were not well aware of this certification. And if maybe some of the developers had heard of EDGE, the local government maybe did not understand the objective behind EDGE. So since the beginning, LEED has been working very closely with IFC to get to the governments and to explain the benefits behind EDGE, not only for the developers, but to the whole region, to understand the impact to the climate, the CO2 emissions, and how EDGE, this very easy to use tool of EDGE, could demonstrate the metrics of the impact of every project and how they could control the design and the housing that was being developed now with the growth of the countries or the cities. So at the beginning, as any developer, they were not so well aware. They understood and they were very fond of the benefits of this tool and its certification. And they started working not only the government directly with IFC, but with the developers and these ordinances, like in Peru, these local ordinances and incentives to push developers to achieve EDGE certification more and more. And I think now it's like a trend. If even there is not a local ordinance that is offering incentives, some municipalities here in Peru or some users or some developers are looking to achieve EDGE just because they feel it's something that is very important to incorporate in the projects. And maybe governments are being more aware, more governments are being more aware of this trend, and they're implementing solutions or these kind of benefits to push for more sustainability inside their countries.
Thank you. Cesar, maybe you can just elaborate a little bit on the Colombian perspective as well, just given our success story there, and how big the adoption of EDGE has been in Colombia, and that's a successful collaboration with Camacol in particular.
Yes, Felipe, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I think sustainability and efficiency had come to stay, right? This is something that is a fact, that the market is aware of that, the government is aware of that, the developers, the bank, and everybody is aware of that. Now we have the people, we have the consultants company to support that. So it's like all the planets are aligned, right, in the proper way to make this big change, to the big switch of minds to sustainability. That's the point. So as I said before, sustainability is something that even if it's related to people, planet, profits, if you cannot justify profits, it won't go through and pass over to the planets and the people, right? So this is something that is very clear. You have to take that into consideration. And at one point, it's the before what happened with the planet. It's that and with the climate exactly what the accounts, the numbers haven't not been made properly, right? So we didn't took into consideration the proper cost of the environmental impact of construction, right? So that's why the project seems to be profitable, right? In the first numbers, we didn't take into the real cost numbers the impact and the cost of the environment, right? And that's why we came to this situation. And I think now everybody's very well aware of that. So that is a big issue, very important issue, and that's what make and open the room for the certifications, because like my grandma said, my father said, you have to do the things the better way you can do it, even if somebody's looking at you or not, right? So certification is that. It's like somebody's looking at you, helping you. So you have to take this tool as its name, as a tool to get over and do proper and better designs, right? And support that tool. And there is room for everybody. There is room for Edge. There is room for LEED, like Erica said. I mean, there's room for everybody and all the certification, and those came to support. And with the support with the bank, with the financial support, which is very important, especially in our countries. And I think that is the key why Edge had been fit so well in our country, because having IFC behind Edge, right, and doing the proper finance with the higher cost of the money in our countries, right, is very high. The cost of the money, the cost of the finance cost is very high. So we can do better taking lower finance costs and taking these savings and invest it into the decarbonization. And that is the future. And that's why once you get to the proper person and you get with the proper, I mean, people in the company that is able to understand the whole panorama, right? The whole picture of it, it's a no-brainer. You will go for that. And that is what going with our big customers, big partners like Bolivar, that you know they are champions. And we have other like AR, and we have some other companies. I don't want to make a long list of them, but there's many very well compromised with that and committed. So that is what I think with this part of the secret.
Excellent. And maybe we can wrap up with one final quick question. Basically, this is the top-down approach. We see developers changing their minds, and we see government changing their minds, but also we see people changing their minds. So where do you see the decisions of home buyers and the market from the very, very ground up changing? What is the awareness to resilience solutions, to sustainability certifications, Edge and LEED, and how does that influence home buying decisions, for example, in Colombia and across the market? So maybe Erica, we could start with you, and Cesar, maybe we can.
Can you hear me, Philip? There?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I think, as I was saying before, this is not only like a request, it is more like a demand, and many more users are being aware of the situation of the levels in Edge, not only Edge certified, but also Edge advanced, and they are approaching the developers asking for this new product or this very interesting product. The savings are much more important to them, and the comfortness inside the housing is also different. So there is a demand, a very silent demand in achieving these levels, and they are not only coming now for Edge Advanced, but they're thinking about Edge Zero carbon, and to understand what it turns into for them, like living in an Edge Zero carbon home or space. So I think it is important to understand that we are not living in the climate of yesterday, and these housings should not be designed for the climate of today. They should be designed for the climate of tomorrow, and it will be much more aggressive, and the users are already looking for a much more interesting level of certification. So they have to put 1+1 and try to offer a, a better product, a more ideal product to adapt to this demand and to the climate that will affect them tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the future element is a very important point. Thank you, Erica.
Very much.
Sir.
This is my personal thought, right? This is something that we have discussed with entities as Camacol, that we have also discussed with the Green Building Council in Colombia and with the IFC representatives in Colombia and everybody, because as I said before, this is something that have to be worked by everybody together. Together we can do the change, otherwise it won't be impossible. That's one point. So what we think, we have to work also, and we have to pass over and get to the final users to make them aware on how important and how is the impact on their decision in buying or renting a green build house or not. That is very important. If we can have this awareness to them, if we can really change their mind, you know, and everybody knows, in marketing, one lesson: markets are driven by the demand, rather that we want to push to them. We want to push to them, move to EDGE certified buildings, move to green buildings. You gotta buy that, it's better for you, lower lower bills, whatever. But it's somehow we can change market mind. The market will be driven by the demand and have to be driven by the demand, right? So if we go that way, so if we can to like get more to the final users, change their mind, the demand will be for green buildings, and there will be no chance. So everybody will have to move to that, and that will make the real difference. Okay, we are doing a great impact. That is right. I do consider the still having 30% of the social offers EDGE certified. Six or 7 years ago, right? So it's very important to have that offer, but it's important to work on the final users and the final guys who take the decision of buying. That will be my final thought.
Excellent. Well, thank you to our distinguished panelists for taking the extra time. I know we're already well over, but I think we could be keep talking about this for a long time with you guys. Thank you, Michelle, for putting this together.
Maybe I'll just say a couple words to summarize real quickly. I think what I've heard from both of our speakers today, and is something that has really struck me at this moment, is the term of together, the term of that you went out into the market, you made these moves. It didn't exist when both of you started, but this was something that was built. And for a lot of markets that are not as far along as Latin America, I think that the work that you had to do on the ground, it wasn't necessarily your job. I remember we were training a group of architects and they said, financing is not my job. I'm not interested in doing this. And it's like, well, we're in a new world today, and we need to learn to speak the language of the client. And very much like Cesar said, we need to speak to them in the ways that they do business. And that means it's no longer about emotions or feelings. It's about driving business through good aligned climate solutions that make business sense. And that's really how we're going to achieve mass market adoption. And I really want to thank both of our speakers here today. They have really shown how they have made green a business strategy, and resiliency and excellency on projects something that's desirable in their markets. And we're really honored to have them as partners in our program, as service providers to work with us. So thank you again, and thank you, Philip. I'll let you close it out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you to our speakers again. Just one final item of housekeeping. I've just posted a survey link in the chat as well. We'd be very grateful to get the feedback of all the attendees at this point. And as I said, we will be sharing the recording of this and the presentation materials in a follow-up.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you.
afternoon. Thank you. Bye.
Hey,
Bye.
bye.